Hail, fellows, and welcome to Pen Night Radio, where we slay our personal demons and arm ourselves to write our best content. I am your host, PK, unofficially knighted by a fictional character, which means you do not have to call me sir. And this is a very, very special episode of Pen Night Radio because for the first time ever, Pen Night Radio is streaming live as part of a main episode, as part of our main lineup. I'm very excited to be live streaming this recording tonight. And for those of you that are listening on Saturday morning, I encourage you to tune in every week whenever we decide to do some lives, because it's a super good time and we can answer your questions more directly. But more on that a bit later. Let's dive into why we're here. Let's take our pens and slay the demons that are holding us back today. And then we write. And we are going. So this is a bit of a hybrid show. We have a main line of subject matter that we're going to be talking about tonight, which I'm really excited to get your perspective on. I got Facebook open on my phone over here in case StreamYard decides not to show me comments again like it did last week. So rest assured, we will be answering your questions very promptly. And we'll also be doing writing prompts. Prompt Me is a new tradition that I've started here at One True Promotion. Basically, we do some live writing. There's a specific writing prompt to keep things fun. And then you are invited to send in some writing prompts, and I will react to them live and try to cook something up for you in the next couple minutes. But all of that is just a sideshow. The main event is that tonight we actually have a very special guest joining us for this wonderful production. Someone who is more than half the magic at good old One True Promotion and an absolute titan of the self-publishing world. Mr. Andrew Bass is joining us this evening. How are you, sir? Uh-oh, what happened? Microphone.
Microphone. Hey guys, how you doing?
There you go. There he is. There he is. All right, that's good.
Yeah, we had a brief call while you were doing introductions.
Yes. So that is all right, though. How are you today?
I'm good. How about you?
I am I'm about ready to drop. It's been a long day, but I am happy to be here.
Perfect.
Yes. I want to do something a little bit differently tonight with your leave, sir, because the main topic for today is behind the scenes. You and I have both been doing a lot of research lately about how it's what the people want to know, what it's like behind the scenes. They want to know about our everyday lives. They want to know about the stuff we never show. So I submit to you that if either one of us is about ready to drop dead right now at this very moment, I think tonight we could just talk about that live on air. What do you think?
Oh boy. Well, I hope that's not the case.
Well, I might have exaggerated a little bit there, but I tell you, there is no rest for the wicked. Am I right, sir?
Yeah, it seems that way.
I mean, what is it like to be a teacher, a camp counselor, a grass cutter, a full-time family man, and somehow make your dreams of publishing multiple books come true all at the same time? I mean, are we, counting our off hours and trying to fill it up with stuff, or
lots of sleep and lots of daydreaming?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but it feels like for the past 5 years, I've been in a perpetual game of catch up that I just never seem to win.
Yeah, that's life for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this isn't a complaining session. I mean, I'm happy to do the work that we do. I adore it. I really do. But I tell you, they don't really tell you when you're going in what kind of hours you're going to have to pull to really publish.
Oh, no. I mean, it's a 24/7 job. You got to do everything. You got to be your own advocate. You got to be your own merchandise seller. You got to look for events to go to. There's just a laundry list of things that you got to take into consideration.
So we have this little seminar that we do when we go around and we talk to people at libraries and college campuses and all that, and we discuss all of our joined research about the traditional, hybrid, and self-publishing worlds. So let's do a little 3, 2, 1 for our favorite type of publishing. Okay, we'll go at the same time. 3, 2, 1. Self-publishing. There you go. We said the same thing. All right. What is so good about self-publishing?
Freedom.
Oh, freedom.
I
Blessed
mean,
freedom.
my thing lately is pirates. So like that's the thing they always say about pirates is they get to live free, do things on their own terms. Well, that's what independent authors get to do. You get to do things on your own terms. You get to be free. You don't have to worry about people trying to steal your rights to your story, make changes to your story. It's all yours, and everything either crashes or burns based off of your own ideals.
And you're not talking about some evildoer on the internet, because anybody could do that to anybody. You're talking about some of the people you might actually be under contract to, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're under contract with somebody um, in the traditional publishing world, they might not like what you're going with something and basically tell you, "Hey, we like the story, but we want you to do this instead."
And
No.
that was always the
So,
biggest turnoff for me.
if a traditional house picked up my story, who knows? Maybe Drake will be like a fairy or something. A fairy with a tutu who maybe doesn't drink blood, but maybe like drinks Coca-Cola.
Well, I think they would probably lean towards like the crooked executive route or something like that, where, yes, he shows up at random in this forest, but the forest is really inside of a box, inside of another box, inside of another box, inside of another box. One of those deals, right?
Schrodinger's cat.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Drake is
I
neither
mean,
here nor there.
yeah. I mean, you and I bonded over Lost back in the day, and I mean, I'm not trying to ruffle too many feathers this early in the stream, but what was that other than a myriad of unanswered questions?
Yeah, a fever dream of unanswered questions. All right,
Oh yeah,
we're just gonna ask more questions. We're not gonna answer any
yeah,
questions, but we're gonna ask more questions.
oh yeah. My favorite was when they pulled the inhaler bit in season 6. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if there are any losties out there in the crowd right now,
Do they even still exist?
I mean, I watched the whole series again last year, and I saw some YouTubers dedicating content to it. So it can't be just me. It can't be just me. But for those of you losties that may be out there, in a show about a tropical island with polar bears and Egyptian statues and smoke monsters, spoiler alert, and different tribes of magical people and drills that are digging into the earth. I mean, with just all this stuff going on. And oh yeah, the island moves. Spoiler alert again. There was an episode in season 1 where a girl's inhaler went missing, and there was a whole lot of drama about her asthma. So one of the questions that the season 6 writers did answer was what in fact did happen to that inhaler 6 seasons ago. And yeah, did you know that Jorge Garcia, who played Hurley, actually went to Comic-Con and asked that question?
I did
Did
not.
you ever? Did you? Yeah. So I was big into, on when in the earlier days of YouTube, when I would basically just use it to look at Comic Cons and stuff. I watched a Lost Comic Con with Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse, and Jorge Garcia showed up in the audience, and he started grilling them about this inhaler, and everybody laughed. But then about 4 weeks into season 6, Jack and Hurley go back to their old camp, and he just finds the inhaler just crushed under a leaf somewhere. And I'm like, oh my God, they were actually serious. They're not going to answer half of the questions we have, but they're going to tell us what happened to this darn inhaler.
Which doesn't even make a difference anymore.
No, 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 no. Well, they were trolling. They were trolling us 100% with that. Right or wrong?
It has to be. No
Oh
other
yeah.
no other excuse for it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not bringing this up to veer off topic. I mean, how important was Lost to you and me back in our spring awakening, as it were.
I mean, back when we thought that there was actually direction for the story, it was very important.
And I mean, just where the two of us were at that point in our lives. I mean, think about like the creative bomb that goes off in your mind when you're 16 and 17. You know, I mean, we were sitting there at lunch scripting our own television series. Remember that?
Oh yeah, Friday
Monday
night
Night Live.
or Monday Night Live. Yeah, yeah.
Monday Night Live. Yep, we were restaging the 2008 presidential campaign, weren't we?
Oh yeah, Emperor Palpatine and his running
That's
mate
right.
Paris Hilton
That's right. Yep.
versus Davy Jones and his running mate Lord Voldemort.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I don't think we even got to election day. We were just having fun setting up the debates.
Oh
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Oh yeah. We had Jabba the Hutt as Secretary of State, didn't we? Or was it military, Homeland Security? What did we elect him
I think
to?
it was Secretary of State.
I think it was Secretary of State. Yeah, and we had John Proctor make a surprise appearance from the crowd. That was one of my favorite parts.
Oh yeah. Gotta have a little bit of
Yeah.
Crucible in there.
Yeah, he had some choice words for a couple of the candidates, things we can't say live on the air. But I tell you, I mean, we would Lost was like our sci-fi show that we got into at that time, and I mean, just how much of a creative, like adrenaline shot did you used to get from any one of those episodes?
Early on, like it was so inferential, but it's like the problem with it is when you go back and look at things, it's the story's kind of ruined when you don't answer questions. And
Right.
for me, it was kind of like hitting the e-brake, for the final season. You go on there expecting all your questions to be answered, and it frustrates you not having the final conclusion.
Well, I mean, I was texting you last year when I was going through the first 4 seasons, basically saying like, I am 100% on board until we get to season 5, 6, right?
I don't know what they were smoking season 5 and 6.
Well, season 5 was a time loop. Spoiler alert. It was all one big time loop. So every episode had to be in some way explaining this time loop. And we were like, okay, fine, I'll bite. It's a time loop. And we cycled back around to what the main point is going to be now. And then season 6 was like, what?
Yeah, season 6 they had no direction for it whatsoever.
Oh yeah. I mean, they had direction. It was just
the wrong direction.
And yeah, it was a direction. It's like, oh, okay. All right. Wow. Shit. Okay. So I'll never look at John Locke the same way again.
Oh yeah.
So like we were like sitting at that lunch table, scribbling in our notebooks. You hand wrote an entire novel trilogy at that lunch table, did you not?
I did, yeah.
You did. I mean, we were going home. We were watching these shows. We were having these conversations. We were texting. We were, just our minds were full of these ideas and this inspiration. And we were sitting there. I was taking notes and notes and notes and notes and notes and notes. And you were scripting entire rough drafts right there at the table. I mean, do you still have those?
I probably do some around here.
I mean, yeah, like if you could find them, what do you think it would be like to open them up and just like look at them?
Absolutely terrible.
Well, yeah, that's the punchline. We do get embarrassed when we look back, don't we?
Absolutely terrible.
But you know what? We really don't need to, because it was us when we were kids, right? I mean, that was those were our communication skills at that time, and it wasn't like you were communicating nothing. I mean, you had story direction, if I remember correctly, from what I read.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially with the trilogy, like that was a lot of fun to write. Especially considering how it heavily leaned in the direction of like Dragon Ball Z and the use of time travel and super soldier serum type deals.
So like we talked about how, we were big fans of Lost and stuff like Heroes and all that when we were kids. We didn't quite see the cracks the way we do now. Going into like adulthood, when you started really becoming like a more serious writer, a little more self-critical, a little more hardworking at it, really trying to, put our best on the page. What would you say was the show or movie series or book series that really and I think I know what you're going to say, because I feel like I've asked you this before on the show, but I'm asking you again. You can give me a couple of bucks if I'm right. But what would you say was when you started to really get more critical about storytelling? What was the story or series that suddenly became more of your inspiration later in life?
Um,
You can name a couple if you want to. Yeah.
I'd probably have to say Arrow for one.
Oh yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
Um, The Last Kingdom.
Yep. I knew it. I knew it. I knew you were going to say that. Yeah,
Any
I'm talking
both of the
about
books in the series.
right. Yeah, I'm talking about how like, we have our like, creative boom, our awakening when we're young. We have this period where, we go out there and we start experimenting a little bit, and then we have something that really kind of starts to satisfy us more as artists for like the first time ever. And I remember when you first started talking about Arrow, man, was that capturing your interest? um you used to text me about Arrow and make me excited about watching it just from what I was hearing you say about it.
It's just they did everything right with Arrow.
Hmm.
Arrow Arrow took a superhero. I mean, obviously Green Arrow or Arrow, and they made them relevant. Anything you saw in like the comics or in like the cartoon animated series beforehand really never gave Arrow any justification. I feel like
Hmm.
Oliver Queen and or the Green Arrow was always kind of looked down upon. I don't
Hmm.
think they really gave him enough credit, because he was sort of like a jokester character.
Hmm.
Where Arrow kind of took it from a serious perspective. They made him more
Yep.
like Batman, um,
Yeah.
in the sense that it was a serious, dramatic retelling, and it
Hmm.
was very character driven and character based. So you really started to feel something for the characters and their motivations.
And it was fresh too. Like I remember, I think back to the pilot, and I'm like, they're really not relying on tropes here. It's
Well,
a
it doesn't
fresh,
work.
new, interesting story. Yeah.
It doesn't work with characters like Batman or Superman because
Hmm.
they've been played out so much. But when you use a character that isn't used as much, like Arrow, and you make them into a character that is important, isn't a joke, um, captures your attention, it uses um, less known characters and makes them primetime characters.
Yep. Absolutely. Um, I had a blast watching Arrow when you and my brother finally strong armed me into putting away more of it. And I agree. I mean, it kind of really revitalized a previously underappreciated character in a way that could make fans even of guys like me who knew nothing about the character. And I remember there was a when you first started watching, I remembered you started to send me a lot more ideas of your own. Like you seemed like you got a real boost off that.
Oh yeah, I can't tell you. I went through like a superhero boom,
Hmm.
um, in that era. I mean, I had like two or three superhero content books that I planned out. Um, some of them are very interesting. If I have
Yeah, I
to
was going to say
really,
any we might see in the future.
I think definitely one I would like to do. Um, it's it's one of those things where it's like so many ideas, so little time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, to connect us back to the beginning, how much are we trying to hunt down less free time or more free time
More
in our
free
line
time
of work?
always, but
Oh yeah.
every time you try to go search for more free time, more work seems to flow in your lap. But um, I even want to redo that series that I wrote at the table. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about it for years. It's like this was the story that inspired the Sanguinary series, and
Mm-hmm.
if I could rewrite a story, it would have to be that. I feel like that's the one it's already established. There's 3 books. Um, it wouldn't take a lot of effort to redo it. Um, you know,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Keep going for a minute. I'm just sending this.
it's one of those things where if the time is right and the characters are right and you, you have the patience, it's worth going
Yeah.
back to.
Now I have a question for you. I asked you about what was your when you went off to college and you became an adult and you started taking the arts a little bit more seriously than back when we were losties. And I asked what your big inspiration was at that time. Can you remember mine? What did I get into as the years went on?
Well, in high school it was Heroes,
I'm talking
but then
about after that, like when I
that
went
quickly
off and
got trashed
well,
on.
listen. Well, listen. Listen. Can I be blamed for simply making observations? Oh my goodness. I'm talking about after. I'm talking about when I went off to college and stuff. And I
Dark Knight
started
trilogy.
getting what is going on? What is going on? Is the cat rubbing against your microphone or something?
That's probably the fan behind me.
That must have been it. Yeah. It sounded it I thought a blimp was about to hit me in the back of the head for a minute there. Um, okay. Could you repeat that? I couldn't hear any of it.
The Dark Knight trilogy.
Okay. Yeah. That was also high school. Yeah, no, I took a crazy amount of inspiration out of those movies for sure. You don't remember what my favorite TV series was in college?
Hmm. Nah.
Blanking on it. Okay, so first I got into Buffy. That was the first thing that happened. And it was old at the time, but I got into Buffy the Vampire Slayer when I
Was that college or was I thought that was high school that we got into that?
no, I got into that 2011. 2011, I got into watching that, and soon after that came Angel, and then I got into Supernatural. I got into that around that time as well, and Dexter. I was a big Dexter guy. Those were like my main sources of inspiration during that time when I was just writing down a lot of ideas that I'm still working on today. And then, of course, going out of college, I got roped into the Breaking Bad universe, and that's held the title for me ever since. But yeah, my main supernatural inspirations were those shows. Supernatural for however long that lasted as well.
Yeah, so for me, like once you get past season 5, it just ruins everything.
Because season 5 is such a good ending. It's like my issues with the later seasons are also like praise for the first 5 seasons because I'm like, bro, you gave me such a good ending here, and now like you go beyond that, and it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, you're just making everything worse. My goodness. So the reason that I'm bringing this up, everybody, just so you know, is because this is a behind the scenes conversation, and all artists get their inspiration from somewhere. Andrew and I were just a couple of guys before we did this, and we still are. We watch TV, we read books, we go to the movies. We have things that we've loved since we were little kids. We have, tropes that we enjoy in stories, like the last minute saves in Dragon Ball Z. when Vegeta comes in with that big bang attack and Cell turns around and Goku goes, "Now is your chance," and Gohan comes in with the what do you call it, the money shot. I mean, you can see evidence of us enjoying those sorts of things in our books. There's been times in shows and books where we got crazy twists, where we got plot twists for the first time, and you can see us experimenting with plot twists. I mean, this is part of our behind the scenes. It's just all the things that we loved in pop culture, same as you. I mean, Andrew, I know one thing you really bring up a lot when it comes to Sanguinary is the Alien series, which I know you're excited about right now because we're about to have something pretty cool happen. Um, there's a lot of people out there that love science fiction and horror. And, just in case nobody heard you the last time you said it, how important is that to you?
Oh yeah, the Alien series is very uh, special series, especially the first two movies. 3 and 4 you could forget about. Prometheus and Alien Convent were pretty good. Alien Romulus is the new one that's coming out in August. So I'm looking forward to, because the old director's back finally.
That's
We don't
right.
get these different directors. We get like the original director is coming back. Oh, so much to look forward to.
Uh-huh. So, like, the first time I ever wrote something down, it was a fanfic. That's when I was in like grade school. I wrote a little Dragon Ball Z fanfic. It was about 3 pages before I completely lost interest. But when I wrote my first book, there was a process for that. There was an idea, which became a character, which became a scene, which became a story, which became a sequence of events, which became a story. So, our fans want to know what's one like behind the scenes secret that you've never really shared with anybody on air?
One behind the scenes secret.
About your process. What's one behind the scenes secret about the Andrew Bast process? Some of that Sanguinary series magic. How's the magic happen?
Well, I think a lot of it stems from old folk tales, and looking at different concepts of different creatures, um, and taking that concept and sort of making it your own.
And how do you do that? Documentaries? Like what's the skill that you have there?
I mean, it's really just research, burying
Research,
yourself
yep.
in like writing and documentaries, and looking for things that match up with things that make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Can
like
you
I'm
take us
I'm
through?
I'm working on something for book 3, and um, one of the big things that I'm going to be leaning heavy into is like cult or occult lore. And the other day on TikTok, I saw a symbol for something that looked really cool, and I was trying to find what the origins of that symbol was and if it had anything to do with what I was doing. And it ended up being a really cool symbol to kind of look into, because it traced origins back to the to Greek, to Norse, Egyptian mythology, um, and you have this idea of um, the world being in balance, where it's life and death. The cycle continues, and the symbol was a snake eating itself. And
Mm,
if you look into like Norse mythology, it's reference to Jormungandr, who's literally spans the width of the world and literally nibbles on his tail because he's that big.
that's cool. That's really cool. So thank you for sharing that with us because when I think, what would I know Andrew personally as a partner and as a friend, but when I think about, I'm also a fan. what would I, as a fan, want to know about Andrew's behind the scenes process? It would be like how do you obtain the excellent information you do to create these wonderful tales that are not just supernatural, but are also just so based in history and feel so perfectly woven into the world, the real world, in a way that gives the novel such depth. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but I mean that's the fancy thing about history is that everything's been done before.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I watched a 7 or 8 part series pirate documentary on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they did was detail all these different pirates and sort of their journey from like life to death and like what they did that made them famous. And one of the things that I want to do with my my pirate story that I want to lean into is I really wanted to get into more of like a naval mythology and learn how to express and write naval battles,
Mm-hmm.
which also goes down to things like strategy, like um, how would you outmaneuver a vessel, how would you trap a vessel, what works, what doesn't, what if other people did, and like there's just a bunch of fascinating stories out there, especially in pirate lore, like anything with Blackbeard. He did psychological warfare where he literally put um, items in his beard and light them on fire so it looks like he was the devil whenever he, pulled up alongside a vessel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you had other pirates that would blockade a channel and pick ships off as they come along. Um, and then another story that I heard, which was really cool for me, was they were a ship by themselves and they came across a Spanish fleet. And they knew that one of the ships contained gold in it. So, you know what they did in order to find the gold?
What
They
they
took a
do.
massive risk. So, what they did is they pretended to be a Spanish vessel. Like they had like a stolen Spanish flag that I guess they picked up from like a previous raid, and they took down their colors and hung a Spanish flag. And what they did was they pulled up alongside a Spanish vessel and literally jumped aboard, took the ship captive before they can raise an alarm, and literally interrogated the information out of them, which ship had the galley. And then what they did from there was they literally rode up, attacked the ship, stole the ship, and got away with the money, even though they were
Wow.
heavily outnumbered. And it all stemmed from like just shock and all tactics, jumping on there, making sure
Yeah.
they weren't detected.
That's like a Jack Sparrow move, honestly.
Well, that was the one thing too, because you kind of wonder where Captain Jack Sparrow came from,
That's
and there
right.
actually is a pirate out there that was based off of Captain Jack Sparrow, or
Mm-hmm.
the pirate ended up becoming known as Captain Jack Sparrow.
Nice. That's really fascinating. And where is that located, that documentary?
It's Disney Plus.
Nice. Ooh, Disney Plus got all kinds of good stuff on it. But you know what? Thank you for sharing that with us because, that's the cool thing about just hearing a little bit more about your process is that it gives us such great insight into what you're able to craft from all this wonderful, content that you dig up.
Well, that's the
Um,
thing
be-
I always liked about Bernard Cornwell and like the Last Kingdom
mhm.
series, because one of the things that would always blow my mind is Uhtred would always be smarter than everybody else. And no matter how many times he got himself in a situation where he was outnumbered or outmaneuvered, he would always find a clever way to get through and, um, you know, save the day, for example. And, like with that documentary there, like with all the naval expertise, you kind of see how real historical figures navigated and pretty much eluded and like what led to their downfall. It's really fascinating stuff. And that's the beauty of history. I mean, it's like the
Mhm.
ultimate source of material.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that completely. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I really appreciate you sharing that. It's really great to be able to have this conversation with you and to just share a little bit about just what makes us tick. Really, what was the best? So you mentioned Bernard Cornwell. Was that the best historical series that you've ever come across?
Oh yeah, to date. I mean, I love Ken Follett. I do.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of my favorite authors, one of the best historical fiction authors that I ever read. But there's just something about Bernard Cornwell where the books weren't particularly long, but the difference between like me reading like Ken Follett and his Pillar series is um, with the Cambridge series, so to speak. Each book took place like 100 to like 200 years in the future, preceding itself, right? So it's like you got four books, all of them take place in different time frames. So you have to get used to characters, and I feel like when you have a series where you're getting to know different characters each book, it's harder to get into than say Bernard Cornwell, which there's 12 books all featuring the same characters. So it's kind of like you get more invested into a series where
Mm-hmm.
you know the characters and you know their struggles and you see what they go through from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm. I know, and that's really my favorite just way to experience art in general. That was what I loved about Game of Thrones when I was going through that. I got super into that at the height of my publishing phase, around 2016, 2017, a couple years earlier than that, actually, because I loved how it would, delve so deeply into characters and how, the world weaved in all of their issues. Really, it's remarkable stuff. Um, and speaking of books, I just finished a certain book, didn't I?
You did, you
Yeah.
did.
Did you get my
It's something
email?
you've been looking after for a while now.
A while. Do you remember when I first mentioned that idea to you?
Yeah, a very long time ago.
We were in high school. Yep.
Yeah.
And it was only half formed at the time. I just had two characters and barely a concept for a world. The concept for the world, which is kind of the what goes into the title, that didn't come until I think a good 6 or 7 years later. And
Yeah.
then I started playing with the first draft of it in 2019 or 2018, early 2019, and finally sent you a version of it just the other day.
Yeah, you did.
I really appreciate you for offering to read up on it. What are your just from some of the things I've shared so far? What are your impressions of it so far?
I think it's a little bit of departure from what I'm used to with you.
Hmm.
Um, I think that the pacing is somewhat different than what we're used to. Um,
Hmm.
I would
You didn't start
also
reading already,
say
did you?
I did.
Oh, you did. Oh, you are the man. Wow. Okay. Anyway,
Um,
continue.
I don't really want to give away too much, but
Hmm.
um, this doesn't feel like a typical Alec Pangea novel so far.
No.
And not
No.
in a bad way, but I feel like it's a nice change of pace to kind of see where your style of writing is now and how it differs from um, say a story where we know that you're writing for a series, right? It's a
Hmm.
very different perspective when you're writing a standalone as opposed to
Hmm.
writing a series. And um, I feel like when you write a standalone, there's a lot of handicaps that are sort of lifted from you. And I feel
Hmm.
like you see that early on in this story.
That's really very interesting that comes across so quickly because you're so right. I mean, I always have this idea when I'm writing Calipar or I'm writing Meridian that you know, that I have the job of there's that heat, there's that fan again. There it is. There you go. Wow, that thing is like it's like a tiny blimp goes through your room, like just like every time. I'm like, oh, yeah, there you go. There you go.
It
There
is.
it is. Oh my goodness. If you're listening on Spotify, I do apologize. But listen, it's a very hot summer and we need our fans. So I for one am happy that my guy has a reliable device on hand. But anyway, as I was saying, when I'm writing Caliper or I'm writing Meridian, I do always feel like because I'm writing so much of a larger story that the uh the checklist for the first installment is always a little bit shorter. It's like I can only reveal this much of the world and this much of the lore. There's a lot that I want to happen in the story. There's a lot that I want to happen with this character, but there's a lot that I can't say until they go to this place and meet this person, and that doesn't happen until book 2, or that doesn't happen until book 3, or rather it's not slated to. Because on the other side of that, the worst thing you can do in a series is jump the gun and reveal too much too soon, because then you might not have a series. So it's just like, there is a delicate balancing act there. And yeah, writing Garnet Estate, I just felt free, man. I felt so free. Crazy. Hey, Mary Sue is here. How you doing? Good to see. And it came through on StreamYard. StreamYard, I am so proud of you. I knew you had it in you. Thank you for doing
Yay.
your job. We're only paying you, for God's sake. Thank you so much, StreamYard. Okay. We were just talking about our behind-the-scenes process a little bit, Mary Sue. Thank you for joining. I drafted that romance novel I told you about. We were just talking about how freeing it is to write a standalone. Yeah, I mean, when you have you experienced that, sir?
I mean, the closest I've come to it would be Auto Realm,
Which I love.
because their stories, like the Ken Follett series, they're all separate, and you really don't see too much of those characters again going forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. And my thing with writing Garnet Estate was that there's actually a lot of characters in it for a short book. It's the shortest book that I've ever written, but it actually does fit in quite a few characters. And back in the day, my instinct was always that everything had to be like Game of Thrones. We had to Mary Sue, we love you. Thank you so much for supporting us the way you do and waiting for Twisters to start. Oh, the movie coming out. Yeah, that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I was saying that I really love when. Oh no, let me back up. I was saying that with writing multiple characters, I always thought that I had to give every character like an equal amount of time in the story. Like I had to do it the way George R. R. Martin does it and have, this character have a whole chapter and this character have a whole chapter and that character have a whole chapter. And another way that I felt really free writing this book was that this was the book where I just said, every character has a role to play in this story. Some are large, some are small. Some might be here every chapter. Some might be here for one chapter. But if their job is done, that's their cue to leave. And I found that I really enjoyed writing in that style. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to just know when you finish a scene that this gets it just right. We don't need to milk this any further or push this any further or create any filler content. Nah, like one of my professors talked about that when we were reading King Lear, actually. Did you ever read that one?
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, he talked about, so you know how when Lear is out in the storm before he goes and returns to the daughters, he's out there with the fool, and the fool just goes off into the storm and doesn't come back, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
well, so
exactly.
a lot of people would say that, the fool should come back by the end of the play. That's a loose end. But my professor was like, nah, get him out of here. I think that's interesting. He never comes back. See you later.
Well, I mean, it's realistic too. Like
Yep.
sometimes people don't return if they go out in the storm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Absolutely.
there's really not a reason for him unless there actually is a reason for him.
Exactly. If a character is no longer welcome in a story, the way they depart might actually raise more interesting questions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you ever read Scythe?
No.
Okay, so that's a good one to read. I will say that in addition to it being like a good, interesting, fresh take on the very popular dystopian style of writing, dystopian fallen world, there's a moment in the book where something happens that is not uncharacteristic to a hero's journey, if you know what I'm saying. Like
Mm.
if you know Spider-Man, if you know Batman, to kind of give you a hint, it's really not too uncommon that this sort of thing will occur in the hero's early story. But the way it happens so suddenly and out of nowhere and just changes the entire dynamic of the book, I remember reading that and being like, whoa. Like, totally did not see that coming, have no idea what's going to happen to these characters now. Holy crap, I am hooked. And that was really cool. That was a really cool thing to read in a book. So it's not so much, what you choose to write, but how you choose to write it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of which, I did say prompt me. So thank you for indulging in this behind the scenes discussion. I would say for my own behind the scenes process, one thing that I really like to do is I like to take a lot of notes. I like to take a lot of notes and chart out, details about characters. So if how they dress is important, I like to write down, what kind of dress the character wears. If there's a certain symbol that says a lot about the character, I like to write down on ways in which that symbol can be incorporated into the story. A lot of my behind the scenes process is just trying to really like paint a portrait for the reader. So I'm not just telling the story and leaving a lot of like, dark space to fill in, but I really try to make sure that it's vivid and that it's real and that, that they'll think about it after they put the book down, because that's always my goal is that if you read something from me, it's not just going to entertain you and then you'll forget about it. You'll be thinking about it. Speaking of which, our first prompt of the night, Andrew, you going to do this one with me?
Oh, this one I was going to do the other one.
Yeah, you can do the other one. Okay, you know what? Screw it. I'll put them both up. All right, give me a minute. Let me get this one in here. We'll do a prompt off. How about that? Invented it live right here on Pen Night Radio. Okay. So the first one is on here up here. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, you've seen it already. If you're listening on Spotify, the prompt is a 300-word story of complete and utter failure with a main cast of only vegetables. And the second prompt of the night is a 300-word story, any genre, about a detective whose prime suspect is a cat. Those are the prompts. I'm going to put them both up on the board. We'll play some music, and we will get going. All right. Pardon me, everybody. Excuse me. There we go. Now they're both up there. I just wrote a whole lot of nonsense that I can't wait to share with everybody. What's up, Tom? How are you? We were just talking about some behind the scenes magic for what goes into the books we're publishing right now. And we took a break to do a little writing prompt. The prompts are on the board if you would like to participate in the comment section. We've got two here. A 300-word story of complete and utter failure with a main cast of only vegetables, or a 300-word story, any genre, about a detective whose prime suspect is a cat. So there you go. That is what we're doing right now, live writing. And if you would like to send us a prompt, if you'd like to send in a prompt for us to do on the fly, please do. I would be happy to take a stab at it. I am just so proud of StreamYard. Thank you so much for sending in Facebook's comments. It is so nice to be live streaming and not be blind to the wonderful comments people are writing in. Oh, Mary Sue, you're at Twisters, waiting for it to start. Sorry, I missed that comment. Cool. Hope you enjoy. Thank you for tuning in, even from the movie theater. How's your piece going over there? Nice. Just give me a thumbs up when you're ready, my dude. Cameron, thank you for the heart, my friend. If you want to send us a writing prompt, we would love to hear it. Or if you just want to pop in and say, hey, we would love that as well. Alrighty, and for those of you that are watching right now while we await Andrew's excellent detective piece, I would like you to know some things that are on the horizon. So I am very, very excited to have just sent my next book, A Wedding at the Garnet Estate, to Andrew, to Brielle, to my darling wife, Carrie. It is currently in review, and after some much needed feedback from these three experts in their fields, I will be opening up live beta reads to the public. There will be official signups, so you can't sign up here. But if you want to express some interest, just tag me in the comment section real quick, and I'll keep you in mind for when that sign up sheet goes out. But the sign up sheet is going to be so that we can have a very locked down schedule where we agree to a certain number of weeks that the project will be out, and when feedback will be expected back, and I'll hold myself to sending you whatever incentives, such as early access to the final copy of the book, or some prized merchandise that we send out to everybody. That's how a lot of beta reads are done. We have a sign up, we keep it within a time limit, and then we send out rewards to everybody, thanking you for your hard work and for your vital perspective before the book goes into the publishing phase. If you are interested in that kind of thing, I would love for you to mention it in the comment section, just so that I could gauge your interest. The fun thing about betas is that they really, everybody gets rewarded, in my opinion, because the more attention that there is on a book, the more people are supporting its launch, the more likely a book is to get reviews, and the higher up it can move in the Amazon marketplace, which means that if you like the book and you know somebody else who might like the book, everybody is more likely to see it circulating, because we all kind of worked on that together. So if you would be interested in being part of the beta process of, reading a kind of witchy, romancy, costumey, theater troupe kind of story about a farm girl and a lordship who fall madly in love during a play, I would very much invite you to the Garnet Estate, to the 1821 Manor House, where all of this magic did unfold in a world far away. I think it would be very fun. I think you would have a good time. I don't know, Andrew, you're reading it. Are you having a good time?
Very much so.
Well, there you go. There's one person who's having a good time. So if you're interested in that, I would gladly tell you more about it later. But how's that detective piece going?
Good.
All right. I have a feeling yours is going to be better. So can I do mine first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So, full disclosure, I forgot my own prompt. I said a cast of only vegetables, but I actually ended up doing a cast of only fruits. So forgive me as I go into this. But this is a story of complete and utter failure with a cast of all fruits. And 300 words or less. Lemons everywhere, squeezing juicy truths or lies all over every strawberry shortcake loser that dares scrutinize them too closely. The lemon is a proud beast. He has goals. He has non-negotiables. His business will thrive because of the mandates that he puts out. And if any berry or pear-shaped Cracker Barrel has any objection, he can make like a banana and peel out. Why should the lemon settle for less when he alone knows how high his stand could thrive? The world is too full of ignorant watermelons and a cornucopia of unrealistic expectations. Even when his business fails, too many customers turned off by his horrid, oppressive, aggressive personality. He continues to blame the berries and the melons. It was all their fault. They just never gave him a chance. Lemons reigned supreme. Why should they have listened when all that squirted out from their foul mouths were cold hard facts? It was better that the business failed. The business was beneath them. When life gives you lemons, why don't you make like a banana and peel out? And that's my story.
Nice.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you very much. It was quite enjoyable. All right. And your prompt was what again?
Write a 300-word or less story about a detective whose prime suspect is a cat.
I am so ready for this.
Harold wiped the sweat from his brow as he flushed out his cap and placed it on his head. It was an unusually warm summer. A 2-week-long heat wave pounded the city of New York, and with it, crime increased tenfold. He had heard of things being odd during a full moon. The things were just as intense during a heat wave. This fact surprised Harold, as he himself would rather have stayed inside all weekend instead of being here investigating a string of disappearances all over town. All over the city, pet mice, goldfish, and other small creatures went missing. As a pet detective, it was his responsibility to find out where they went. All he had to go on was a calling card, a small index card with a paw print on the center of it. The criminal was no doubt a cat, specifically a tabby cat, with a distinct scent of catnip and tuna fish. A brazen feline just looking to taunt him. Their arrogance will be their downfall.
Nice. All right, I like that. Very nice. I love how you captured that really serious detective vibe. I actually kind of want to know what happens next.
The game is afoot.
The game is afoot for sure, or a paw, if you will.
Yep.
I love it. Very good. Very good. This is why I love Prompt Me. Writing prompts are so much fun. Do they do writing prompts at your writing group?
Every week.
That's amazing. What kind of prompts do they do there? Like, what are some examples?
I got one for you. Tell the story about your worst experience in a school.
Mm,
So I came up with this story.
yeah.
They are gone again, Mrs. Smith yelled. Her face became bright red and shook with rage. Which one of you little ankle biters stole my bookmarks this time? The class remained silent as if etched in stone. The students held firm and refused to expose the guilty party. There was a simple rule here in middle school: snitches get stitches. Not one of you are going to come forward. Mrs. Smith's gaze fell on her sixth grade class, the students avoiding her gaze. I spend good money on you brats, and all you do is fall asleep and steal things when my back is turned. Suddenly, a well-dressed man walked into the room. He wore a gray suit and shiny shoes. The only thing more shiny than his shoes was the shine on his head. He was tall, and he entered the room, arms folded and frowning. The office said there was an emergency, Principal Weathers exclaimed. Principal Weathers, one of these little heathens stole a whole sack of bookmarks. I try to make this class fun as it can be, but every chance they get, students attempt to ruin the fun. So you stole a stack of bookmarks. The principal turned his gaze to the class. A room full of blank expressions stared back at him. I took it. Riley stood up, dropping a stack of bookmarks at his desk. The room fell silent as the desk overflowed with St. Patrick's Day bookmarks. They weren't the smelly kind. I figured if I took them, she would swap them out with the ones I like she always does. These ones stink. The smelly ones are better. Root beer float is the best, Mike agreed as the class nodded their heads. The principal looked at the class for what seemed like an eternity, then broke into a laughter. He turned to Mrs. Smith and gave her a $20 bill. One box of root beer float bookmarks on me.
Bro, you had me dying. I had to mute my mic because I was just dying. I was like laughing out loud over here. Oh my God. That was awesome. That
Oh,
was so
jeez.
good. Is that what you turned in this week?
That was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks. That is you
No,
had
I'm
you had
trying
me
to.
dying as soon as you said ankle biters. You had me dying.
Oh yeah, I channeled some inner humor for that one.
I love how you just capture all the language that teachers know that they should never ever say, but every now and then they get this close, this close.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was fantastic. I love the whole sardonic tone of the whole thing. That was just great. You even talked about I saw that. You even evoked a little bit of Krillin there. What with the shininess up top. That was great.
Yep.
Oh man, that was good. That was the laugh I really needed today. Thank you.
There you
Wow.
go.
Oh, hey, it's Cheyenne. What's up? How you doing? Good to see you. Where you been? That's awesome. We were just listening to doing some writing prompts, and Andrew was almost killing me with laughter with his last one. That was fantastic. Oh my lord, thank you for that. That's cool though. So does the writing how does the writing group help out a lot with your process?
I think it's fun. It's good to get other people's opinions, and it's cool
Mm-hmm.
to kind of kick back and like let the humor flow every once in a while. Usually it's kind of funny. I'm known as like the either the humor guy or the um, like blood and guts guy.
Mm,
So I either give
humor,
them
blood and
something where
guts.
like I scare them or I make them laugh like so hard. So
There you go. Those are the many faces of Andrew. It has been a while. What's been going on with it? And we are doing well. We are still at it, as you can see. We are just pushing out more and more books, um, and trying to keep everybody entertained here with our shenanigans and our writing prompts and our just our reminiscing in the distant past. Uh, I tell you, man, it's been great to do all this work with you. What do we what are some of the events people can catch us at coming up in
well,
person?
we got Woodstown Fall Festival.
Yep, we're locked in for that.
Um,
Very excited.
we should probably have Arts and Authors.
We should probably
Waiting
have.
on
Haven't heard much
confirmation
about
on
that
that.
yet. Yes, normally we'd be promoting it by now, but we haven't been updated in a little while. Yeah. And some other people that I texted seem to be just as in the dark. Planning some stories and even trying to write poetry. That's cool. Can you tell us anything about the general theme or subject matter, or maybe a certain style that you're playing with? Like, this is a behind the scenes episode. So, anything you want to share about your process right now, we would love to hear it. Also, if you want to prompt us with a writing prompt, we will write your prompt live on screen, which is always fun.
Yeah, they even had us trying to like write a haiku the one time, which I thought was very hard for me.
Hmm. Oh yeah, that's no joke. How'd it come out?
Here it is. You let me know.
There you go.
Have an idea, a fantastic idea. Gone again. Sadness.
That's a haiku. That is that is so beautiful. Can you send me that so I can put it on my wall?
Have an idea, a
Uh,
fantastic idea. Gone again. Sadness.
that is a haiku for every writer in America. It really is. That is a haiku that, you know what that haiku tells me as a writer? It tells me I see you and I know
Yep.
it's hard. I my favorite part is the last line, sadness.
Sadness.
Oh
we
my
got a lot
lord,
of.
that
I
is,
got a lot of good ones here.
I know. It sounds like this group has really been keeping you busy.
Someone has a magical instrument that can only be used once.
Ooh, okay.
Um, write a story about a person who has no idea what happened uh, the night before.
Nice. Okay.
Uh, see what other ones we got. Write a story about a group of people whose supplies won't last.
Hmm. I could see that being really deep. I could also see that playing in multiple genres. That could be really dramatic or really, really funny.
Yeah.
Still experimenting. I have some kind of idea for a horror slash black comedy type of story. Yeah, that seems right. I know that when we were hanging around HorrorCon, I saw a lot of inspiration for that type of atmosphere in general. So I would be down to see what you come up with there. It sounds pretty good. And you know what? Experimenting is the best thing. The best thing. Isn't that right, Andrew?
Yep.
I mean, that's all we're doing up here right now is just experimenting. That's what it's all about. So, is there anything that before we start to wrap up the show, is there anything that you want people to know before you go?
Well, if you haven't had a chance to read Sanguinary Song or Dirge of the Trinity yet, you can
Hmm.
find that on Amazon. Definitely, if you have read it, leave a review. We desperately need reviews. We need to know how we're doing, and
That's right.
every review helps.
That's right. That's right. on average, authors like J.K. Rowling, James Patterson, they get upwards of a couple 100,000 reviews, right?
Yep.
And what we need is to break 100. I mean, when you are, just a regular guy in an industry that's been dominated by titans for a while, um, you know, I mean, every review, really, the best thing you could ever do for an author, is to just leave them a review. Because as that number keeps going up, it gives them a fighting chance in a very, very competitive industry. And I would say the same for the Calipar, the Children of Arc. If you like superhero stories and post-apocalypses, because that one is both. So I would very much encourage everybody to take a look at that one if they're interested. And yeah, definitely. Please leave us reviews and come out and see us. We'll be in Woodstown probably the next time you see us in September. But before that, you might see us at a library near you talking about the ins and outs of traditional, hybrid, and self-publishing. Andrew, I really don't want to keep you all night long, buddy. I might be able to close out the show if you want to head out. It's up to you. All right. Thank you for dropping by, man. I really appreciate you coming on and
Yeah,
hanging out
thanks for
with
having me.
us and sacrificing your valuable time so that we could have a great stream and bounce a little behind the scenes info off each other and let people kind of in to what's going on at One True Promotion. But I know you've had a long day, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much, buddy.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye. And as for all of you, this is still Pen Night Radio. I'm still PK, and I want to let you know that Pen Night Radio is here for all of your needs. We are working on rebranding. We're working on new set design. We're working on new writing topics. We are working on a lot of stuff. Pen Night Radio is the show that you can come to watch for your writing needs. It's a podcast for writers. You can listen on Spotify. You can watch on YouTube. You can watch on Facebook. It's weekly writing advice. Whatever specific issue you might be dealing with, whatever demons are holding you back this week, we arm you with the tools you need to slay that demon and put something on that page so that you can go forward boldly in your creative battle and make your dreams come true. That's what the podcast is all about. If you are interested in that, please leave me a like in the comment section and I will know to keep making content for you. You can listen on Saturdays at 10 a.m. to our recordings. You can come out and see some of our live streams every week, every Tuesday. I would have done Tuesday this week if I weren't sick with some bug that's going around. But yeah, you can definitely look for us around 9 o'clock every Tuesday night. And be on the lookout for my Patreon to come back, because if you want to become a patron, I've got some pretty exciting stuff planned. So with that in mind, I am going to close out the episode for the week. It was so good to spend this time with you today. And if you're listening on Saturday, it was so good of you to drop by. Please give the podcast a like. Please give it, a thumbs up so that, similar to how Amazon reviews work, more people on Spotify can locate the podcast and know how to listen to it and what it has to offer. And that's pretty much it for this week. So thank you, Knights, and right on.